Real estate strategy without the spin. Here's what you missed from this week's Friday Focus on KGCI, Real Estate on Air.
This is Wake Up to Wealth, a podcast dedicated to helping you change the way you think about wealth. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brittingham.
What's up, everybody? We're here, another episode, Wake Up to Wealth. I got two people I am super excited about to have on the show that are absolute monster operators at a bunch of different things. And really excited to have them because I know they're going to drop some serious knowledge. I've been in rooms when they've dropped serious knowledge before. Today, I've got Josh and Tiffany High. Thank you guys for taking the time to be on here today.
Man, thanks for having us.
Should we teach them that women come first? It's Tiffany and Josh High, not Josh and Tiffany.
I was just going to see if you're going to catch that.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah, so like you guys do a lot of stuff, and I'd rather than me tell people what you do, why don't you guys tell us what you do?
So we do a few different things. We've been in the real estate game for a decade almost. We started getting into flipping and wholesaling, though, about 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. We do a little over 300 transactions a year on that end. We have built a small rental portfolio. I regret not holding a lot more houses over the last 5 years.
You and me both.
And we started an education company about 4 years ago, but we started truly building it to scale in the last 2 years. And we teach right now only experienced investors on taking their wholesaling and flipping business. And although we teach the whole full throttle business, we'd like to bring in people when they're at a stage where they're ready to stop being a fly-by-night company without policies, procedures, infrastructure. And coming from corporate backgrounds, we add that to their plate. Everything with onboardings, HR policies and docs, ongoing trainings, et cetera, so that they can become a sustainable organization. I know like a lot of educators out there, they throw the word scale out there like it's sexy. I think a lot of people don't understand that you have to build a foundation first, and then you have to stabilize it with a team, and then you can scale. And so we fall in like the build and stabilize so that they can properly scale. And that's really what we've done on the education side, and it's gone crazy last 2 years.
Yeah, I think you made a point that a lot of people miss. I remember one of my mentors, Ryan Stewman, where you guys are speaking in his building tomorrow. I remember one of the first conversations I had with him, and he said, you know, people think scale is sexy, but scale means you got to balance a bunch of shit. That's why it's a scale. And a lot of people fall in love with, you know, it's sexy to scale, right? But they forget all the shit that comes to it, right? And so one of the things that I like to talk about, you know, on this show is how we get people to being wealthy, right? And that means a lot of different things. But I think you truly can't be wealthy no matter how much money you make if you can't be at peace with the business that you're running, right? And I think one of the things you guys have done really well is you've scaled companies that run like companies. You know, what do you think? Just, you know, walk us through some of that. Like, how did you get there?
Yeah,
and I know that's a loaded question.
It's a very loaded question, but I think one thing that I see happen a lot with entrepreneurs, especially people in their first 3 to 5 years, is they hear that word scale and they go to hire these people. Now they've hired this whole team, and unfortunately, they've hired all these people and they're paying them to do the job that they're still doing themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, so in order to truly gain that freedom and that mental clarity, you have to truly replace yourself in every single one of those seats on the front line. And then after you do that, you have to replace yourself as the manager. And then, you know, you should have a leader over the manager, over the frontline people. But in order to do that, you have to have a set of checks and balances to make sure that you have true accountability and people are actually moving the needle forward. There's a whole process to that. But like long story short, in order to truly get to a point where I am saying I love what I do every day, I can truly move the needle forward and not feel like I'm picking up all the pieces as the balls drop across the board, you have to build it the right way.
Got it.
A lot of times people don't ever grow to be the organization that can scale because they have a fear mindset. And a lot of times it comes from a knowledge gap or maybe a financial gap, and they're scared to lose money. Mm-hmm. And our goal is to close that knowledge gap to help them understand what it really takes to get here. And if we go back to when I got started, hopefully I don't get emotional telling the story, but I originally started Heels Homes, 6 years ago. And I left my corporate job, which I loved. I would go back to it in a second if I failed. And I didn't understand how to build a sustainable organization. I was doing what everyone else does. It was like, I just want to grow as fast as possible. Any freaking person with a heartbeat coming in my door, I'm hiring. And then I woke up one day on a Sunday, and were we doing millions of dollars? Yes. But that didn't matter. Like, when you don't hate who you're working with and you go into a culture that you're like, what the hell did I just build? And you don't even know, like, there is no chance of fixing it. You almost have to rip the Band-Aid off and start over. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'm the only one that's been there, but I've been there. I got a year or two in, and I woke up on a Sunday. I'll never forget. I bawled my eyes out and was like, I can't keep doing this. I walked in and built something that I hated. Yeah. And I was up one day low. I was going through anxiety, panic attacks, depression. And I called one of my mentors at the time, Mark Evans. I don't know if you know Mark.
Yeah, I do.
So Mark, he goes, let's talk through this. We walk through it step by step, and he goes, Tiffany, you have no other option. He's like, tomorrow you're firing 3/4 of your staff. And that was like heartbreaking for me, because what motivates me personally is no longer money. It's career paths. It's building people. I know that if I can elevate people to be their greatest potential, the impact I'll have on the world is 10x what I could do by myself. And when I knew that I had to go in, and I felt it was my responsibility that I impacted that many people. And I let go of 3/4, and I ended up attempting suicide that day.
Jesus.
And I ended up in the hospital for a week. And I got funny stories too when I was in the psych ward. But I was in the psych unit for 2 days, and
you got some good drugs for sure.
So actually, I got whole stories of that. But I didn't really talk about this till last year, because I finally got enough help that I'm over past it. And if anyone wants to judge me, then go for it.
Yeah.
But meeting people in there and going through the process, and I got a lot of help the last 2 years to make sure I never fell back in that trap. I realized what was important to me. And so many educators out there push people to move at a speed that is not realistic, and then you make all these poor mistakes. And ultimately, when I came out of that, I was like, hell, fuck this. I'm going back to my job. I don't want to deal with this anxiety attacks, whatever. So I called my father at the time. I said, Dad, I got to move home. I'm done. I don't think I had 15, 20 grand left. And he goes, no, you're not. And he was like, you just spent 2 years learning what not to do, and now you know what to do, and you're going to keep going. And so I kept going. And I said, well, if I got to do this, I have to rebuild everything. And so I built system after system, process after process. And at the time, God speaks in crazy ways, but I go, I need someone to help me rebuild all my systems. And someone at the time referred me to a guy by the name of Muhammad. He's overseas, and he had 2 employees when I met him. He has 250 employees now under one roof, and he supports my whole student community now. We built one process after another. We came out of that, and we had a family friend that came in who built multiple phone sales teams that were to millions of dollars. Thankfully, he's a family friend. He came in and built all the processes and procedures that we do today in scaling up our company. And he really taught us how to build the organization to last for 30 years. And so that was an invaluable 3 months that I paid for to learn what we do today. And I happened to go to church a year later, and I started making big money for my first time. And I'm sitting in church. It's legacy month. And I didn't know what legacy meant, because I knew what tithing was. I didn't know what legacy meant. So I felt really called to call a pastor, and I'm like, can we go to lunch? I don't know what this means to me. I've never had this kind of money. And I'm sitting there. I tell the story of what happened, and he hands me a book, and he was like, read this book. And the guy that was the legacy pastor for the biggest church in Texas to this day, or Louisiana, I think. Right? Louisiana.
Yeah. Lee Dominique.
Yeah, he wrote this book, and he sold the car auctioning online business. He patented that, I believe, and sold it for $100 million. And he handed me a book, and he goes, you'll be called to figure it out. And so that night, it was December 31st, I'm trying to write it off too. And I wrote the biggest check I ever wrote to God that day. And that was the first time I felt, holy shit, this is what wealthy feels like giving this away. And the next day, a relationship I've been trying to form for 2 years called me and did a deal with me that day for 165 grand. And I just felt like I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right things, and I need to do it at a pace that builds a sustainable organization because God's telling me to do that. So I kept going, and we've ignored the crowd. Like, we have so many people that come at us with partnership ideas and businesses and, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it's like, no, I'm here to build an empire to $50, $100 million in the next 2 years. And if you distract me with that idea, we're never going to get there. And I learned a lot through that, what I call the crash. That's what we term it in my office, is we talk about the crash. And a lot of entrepreneurs go through that. So while I was at church and while I was going down that that hole, I blacked out in church that day. And I go out to my car and Josh is like, what's on your mind? And I go, man, when I close my eyes, I open it up and I was standing on stage in front of 1,000 people. And I said, I feel like he's telling me that I have to go help people not go through what I just went through so they don't lose their life. Yeah. And the next day I started education. And I've just had a mission to live out whatever he's trying to have me live out. And I just said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the way he told me to do it. I'm going to build it slowly, the right way, build it. So I build the team, the leadership, culture, core values, and build it to an empire at his timing. And I think it's just all about focus. Like, we've been really good along this journey about not chasing shiny objects, not chasing everything that comes at me that I think makes money. And it's got us to be able to build millions of dollars a year because of the sheer focus that we've gone through after that crash. Yeah.
Dude, I don't even know where to start as far as unpacking all the things you just said. I think number one, the story that you just gave, as powerful as it was, one of the gems in that is, I think the biggest false narrative that so many people have is, if I make a certain amount of money, I'm wealthy, or I'll feel good or whatever. And from my own personal experience, the first time I made a shit ton of money, I was like, I just feel empty. You know what I mean? And so I think a couple of things. I think that the one thing that you said was, you are on a path to wealth, but you're on the wrong path. And I think that that's the thing that a lot of people don't get or understand. They get blinded by the path. And then the other thing I think you said is, stress, anxiety, all that shit is real when you're an entrepreneur because it's all on your shoulders. I think it's amplified when you lose focus. I think, to your point of when you're chasing this and chasing that, I mean, at the levels that we play at, the thing we got to do a lot of times every day is say fucking no a lot, which, being an entrepreneur, it sucks saying no because we're not wired that way, right? But man, that was powerful. I never heard you tell that story before.
I get pretty emotional still talking about it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's still very real for me.
Yeah,
and I don't know, man. I'll cry just talking about it. But I don't know, just people, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
if you don't fucking admit, if you own a company, that you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm going to conquer the fucking world today, and then by 5 p.m. you want to quit, you're a liar.
Yeah.
We all go through it. And I think this is why I couldn't get to where I'm at today if I didn't have Mark Evans, Kent Clothier, all these guys to pick up the phone and say, I am in a situation, what the fuck do I do?
Sure.
And I haven't ever been shy to pick up the phone and ask dumb questions or look dumb. I've just gotten to a point where it's like, I either go make the mistake and fall on my face, or I pick up the phone and have someone that's been there, done that, so I can get there faster with more money.
Yeah.
And the other big thing is like, as people think that they want to build wealth, they don't understand what wealth even means. And, we all have to learn on our own time. We all think we're chasing dollars until we realize someday, if you do get there, you'll be like, I don't need more money.
100%.
So what keeps you going? It's got to be purpose. And if you don't have your purpose defined, you won't keep going.
Yeah. I think you guys have heard me tell that story on stage is, I made 7 figures at a very young age, and I got deathly sick at a young age. And, I was close to dying. And when I was sitting in the hospital, the money wasn't going to help me. Do you know what I mean? And like, the only thing I could think about when I was in the hospital and I was going through the shit I was going through, was like, man, I hope I have more time. Do you know what I mean? And if you would have walked in that day and said, dude, I'll give you another month, 2 months, what would you pay for? It's like everything. And it's like the false narrative is it's a certain amount of money, but then you get there, if that's your only thing you're chasing,
Yep.
it's actually, I think it's worse
It's
because
worse.
you get there and you're like, what the fuck? I got the t-shirt and it's not that cool.
Right.
And in fact, now I have a fucking hole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
And
especially if you give up the connections and you give up, like you said, the purpose, and you get there and you're like, for what?
Yeah.
You wake up and there's nothing there.
Yeah. 100%.
And honestly,
100%.
Let's be real. To make a lot of money, it's lonely.
Lots of sacrifice
No
too.
doubt.
You sacrifice weddings, showers, birthdays, friends, and it might not be like that forever, but it does in the beginning. And so I think people, like, a lot of our students come to us with this same, struggle with, like, I'm having marriage problems now, or I'm having this, and it's like, look, man, you have to learn how to harmonize your lives. There's going to be no such thing as a balance. So we have to figure out, how do we bring them together? How do we, we're married and work together, and people ask us all the time about how do we do that?
Sure.
But like, let's just say you're not working together. You're working 12, 14-hour days.
That's rough.
That's rough.
Yeah.
So it can impact any relationship. And I think that ultimately, like, back to the freedom piece, a lot of people, like we said, relate freedom to financial freedom. I look at it as in, like, mental freedom. And after going through everything I've been through, I will, when I was born, my mom was poor. I slept on a street corner for a year, basically. And, like, going through all these, trials and tribulations throughout my life, it's like your people and connections around you are more important than anything. And let's figure out how to keep those connections there and make money together and level up together, because the connection is something that, as you grow as an entrepreneur, that's ultimately the anxiety comes from not having that person to lean on.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you been in a situation where if you pick up a phone and call your mentor, like, okay, yeah, I can do this.
Feel a lot better.
You want someone to make you feel heard,
Yeah.
feel seen, and that they believe in you. Those are the three things that take someone out of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Whether
no
it's
doubt.
a teenager, a kid, an adult, it doesn't matter. Those are the 3 steps.
Well, I think
Yeah.
another component to that as well is the whole comparison thing with social media.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're starting out and you're in your first 2 years and you see this guy who's 10 years in the game and you're like, man, that's where I should be. Why am I not there?
Well,
that causes a lot of the same anxiety.
I think we can talk about this, and I'd never say names of anybody, but I can tell you guys, if you're listening to this, some of those motherfuckers are calling me for advice. They're calling you for advice. They go through the same shit we all go through. It may look like one way on social media, but I'm telling you, their shit's fucked up too. Because for all of us, we all go through it.
oh yeah, there's
yeah.
hardships.
I went through that comparison game for like a short little time period, and then I woke up one day and was like, this isn't worth my time. So I unfriended every one of my actual good friends in the industry and was like, I'm done following you because I don't want to compare myself to you.
Yeah. And
So-
I think another thing you guys said, two things. That one of the things that a mentor said to me when I was really young, and I didn't understand it. I just thought he was old and fucking stupid. But it was one of the best pieces of advice he told me. He's like, relationships are worth more than money. He's like, you can always go make more money, but if you burn a bridge over money that you shouldn't have, you can never get that relationship back. And it's funny, Brad Lee was last month, or in June, I spoke at MDM, and Brad Lee spoke after me. And Brad Lee talked about how he burned a relationship with somebody really famous over money. And he was like, in the context of things, he was like, I can tie a bunch of mistakes in my life to I chose money over the relationship. And he's like, I wish I still had the relationship with those people, right? And then the other thing that happens when you start to grow your net worth and what you're doing and all that kind of shit, you kind of almost, I mean, I hate to say it, but you kind of almost have to get a new set of friends, because shit starts being weird when you're around people that can't relate to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing too, is as I've scaled, I've tried to keep those relationships with people that I really care about in my life, but it's hard. And then you end up with friends like this, right? Which is great.
Yeah.
But it does put a strain on some of the relationships that you've had growing up, you know? It's a reality.
We've experienced the exact same.
Yeah. We've gone through the same thing, and it's funny. I was just having this conversation
even
with
with
him.
family too.
Yeah. With family.
yeah.
Yeah. I was just telling him the other day, like, I woke up the other day and I go, why do I feel so fucking small? Like, we're doing 8 figures. Why do I feel small?
What's the comparison thing? Yeah.
And it's because I leveled up my room.
Well,
like,
that's a big part of
who
it.
I was surrounding myself with even 2 years ago, even though at the time I thought I was leveling myself up. I did it on another level now.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting in a room and I might be the smallest guy in there. So, like, you just have to keep leveling up your crowd. And the one thing I will say too is don't forget about the people that got you here.
Sure.
Don't forget about the people that are above you that got you here. And don't forget about the people that were loyal to you along the path and bring them along with you. So I think that, loyalty and commitment has really, I think, helped get us here. We've been very loyal to not just our mentors, our peers, our vendors. We've had the same vendors since the day we started the company.
Yeah.
We've helped them 10x their company. They've helped us. And we both have gone through hardships along the way of hiring, firing, processes breaking. But I think when you show that level of loyalty to somebody, they'll go above and beyond. Like, I'm very confident at this point in my life where if I were to ever fail and call one of my mentors and be like, I just lost everything, I think they'll write me a $100,000 check and be like, keep going.
Yeah.
And I would do that for them. So I think that's ultimately, it's a struggle to get there. But once you're there, you have to remember what it took to get here.
Yeah.
And it's just my mission, man. I don't want anyone to go through what I went through 4 years ago. And I will run through a fucking brick wall to make sure I save lives.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in the Bible. Jesus focused on a handful of people to make a mass impact on thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I learned that growing up, I was like, I don't feel like I need to be the only face impacting all these people. But if I can create a core set of high level people that makes an impact, AKA leaders, then they will then go impact thousands of people. So in our education company, our purpose is to elevate leaders, in short. Because I know that those are the people that wear their weight on their shoulder. Those are the people that will do anything to elevate others.
Sure.
They give career paths, families, they put food on multiple plates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I am on a mission to impact as many leaders as I can, personally, professionally, etc. And when it comes to business specifically, what keeps our companies going? Revenue. So we're really fucking good at building phone sales teams, and that's what we educate on.
Yeah.
And so we believe that if we can take you from the foundational build and stabilize stage, and we can have our team support their staff so that while they're wearing all these hats and replacing one at a time, one thing we've done to separate ourselves is we don't just coach the owner, we coach their sales teams directly. So their sales managers, et cetera, because we're like, hey, go figure out all these roles that you need to go hire, work with a coach, recruit them, onboard them, train them. And while you do that, I'm going to go keep your revenue consistent so you feel confident.
Yeah.
Because we all know what it's like to have a bad month and then like it deteriorates your mind.
For sure.
And if your revenue's not here, your mind shuts down, you experience anxiety. But if you have at least revenue coming in, even if you're making mistakes, you're like, fuck it, at least I'm making money.
Yeah.
So I just know that if I can focus on keeping their sales teams making money, then I can help them scale all the other shit while it's happening.
Yeah. I'm going to give you guys something new because just hearing you talk. So Pastor Keith down here, pretty famous pastor in Texas. He's a coach to one of my mentors, Ryan. And what Pastor Keith says is that there's certain people in the world that are, it's your purpose. You're a kingmaker and you're a queen maker. And so one of the first conversations that I had with Ryan is, Ryan said to me that, Pastor Keith passed it down to him. He said, listen, I'm going to make you a coach of my organization. You're a kingmaker, you're a queen maker. And he's like, that's the impact you have to have on people's lives. So I think you guys are blessed with the same shit. So just take that with you. You're making kings. You're going to meet him tomorrow. You guys are making kings and queens out there, and that's some powerful shit. And that's that's a biblical reference too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm definitely looking forward to meeting him. I will say, I'm very much a captain, high anxiety. I move 100 miles an hour, and I'm very fortunate that I have my husband who is like a patient.
This the balance.
He's very much a balance to me, and so if anyone comes and sees us operate at work, they can understand why we don't just work well together. We're married, obviously, for a reason. But I don't think I could do what we've done without our yin and yang.
Yeah.
And so I always encourage people, like, you don't have to partner with someone, but you're crazy not to hire the yin to the yang from the start.
100%.
Well, think about probably your operations managers or COOs. They're probably yin and yang with you, right?
So I have a very similar dynamic. So, I mean, we're practically married. My girlfriend, who I've been with forever, on and off since high school, runs a big arm of my company. And she's very similar to you. And I'm the opposite.
You ever gonna put a ring on it then?
Jesus Christ. I'm already getting enough pressure. But, like, we'll come home at night and, like, I'm like, all right, you got 20 to 30 minutes.
Give me the rundown.
Give it all to me, and then I got to shut it down. And then she'll like, but wait, I got one more. But wait, I got one more. But wait. And I'm like, babe, I can't solve that shit tonight.
It's funny because when the alarm goes off in the morning, Josh is like, what are you going to say to me right now?
Hold on, wait a second.
Like,
she's in the bathroom getting ready, and I go to get in the shower, and she just... I'm like, whoa, hold on. Let me get some caffeine, please.
It's funny that her nickname in our organization is the Taskmaster. And the thing that I've tried to explain to her is I said, look, I can't do more than one thing at a time. So if you give me 5 of them, I can't accomplish it. But it's actually a cool story because to your point, we at first did not work together. And it was putting a massive strain on our relationship. And, I think it's divine timing. I think it happened for a reason. She was a quality analyst for Chase. She ran a department of like 300 people. And they fired her whole department. Well, they asked her to fire her whole department, but they were willing to keep her because they were outsourcing her whole department to India. And she was like, fuck it, I'm out. And then she was like, would you hire me? I think I'd be really good at it. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. I was like, I don't know if I can tolerate your shit all day of like you'll get everybody in line, but it's going to be rough. And so ironically, she was like my personal assistant and we had just started our property management business. And she's like, man, I think I'd be really good at that because it's process and systems and all that kind of stuff. She took over, we had like 50 properties. It's now 1,800. And like, she was the one who built all the shit. And like, it went from, 50 to 100 to 300 to 500, like quick, because she was the process and systems. I went out and sold it all. And now it's a business that runs itself. Like, I rarely get involved at all, except for the 7 tasks that she wants me to do in 5 minutes every once in a while. But there was a strain in our relationship till we worked together. And it actually worked out that we started working together because then she understand, where I was coming from. But the crazy thing is I created a monster because she works just as fucking hard as I do. So it's good and bad sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I will say this. So what we decided to do 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, we have a life coach we've been working with. She only works with executives, business owners, like very high level people, and it's not cheap. But she's like Psyche certified. And what I do is I work with her personally and professionally to work on myself, my leadership, my communication, and then she'll work with Josh and then we'll come together. Because like at the end of the day, like especially working together, if people are like, do you get along all the time? It's like, no, we want to fucking kill each other sometimes.
Yeah.
We'd be in a fairy tale if we said otherwise.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, which we can talk about how we moderate that, but she comes in and like anytime we're like building up on something, like maybe I'm building resentment or he's pissing me off on a bunch of stuff, we save it for that.
Yeah.
So that way, like we're not just literally choking each other.
Sure.
And then we actually need to have one of these soon because we stopped in the last few weeks, but we have like what we call a personal level 10.
Sure.
And the reality is I run certain department and he does too. And when we're in level 10s with other people, we're very professional. But there are times where I'm like, no, we need to fucking hash this out.
Yeah.
And we're married, so I want to hash out in a different way than when my employees are in the room.
Of course.
So we have a level 10 and like we have a whole agenda to it. And this is the room where you can say, we're going to hold each other accountable. We can argue, we can fight. But when we walk out of the room,
we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
And we have to make that agreement. So I just recommend if anyone is, even if it's not your significant other, I think there has to be this level of like trust and vulnerability and openness that we need to be able to handle conflict and move on.
Yeah.
And everyone handles conflict differently. That's how we want to handle it. But I just recommend you create a safe environment and say, this is the time, if you have conflict, to have the conflict right now. Let's get it out there. And then when we walk in the room, it's handshake, move on.
Yeah.
Well, most importantly, we're aligned and on the same page.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is big. Yeah. So, I mean, I could talk to you guys for hours. I mean, it's just powerful, just the stuff that you guys can just say freely. I ask everybody this, and this is usually what we wrap on, right? The purpose of why I named it Wake Up to Wealth is because I came from poverty, right? And you did too. And I just remember what, it was like, when you were waking up poor, and it sucked, right? And, part of my mission in life too is that's why I have a team. That's why I have so many people to work with me, is kind of unlocking people's mind. You've been taught about money wrong. You've been taught about relationships wrong. You've been taught about your health wrong. You've been taught about a lot of things wrong. So my thing is, it's like the Matrix. I want to free your mind so you wake up to wealth every day. And that's whatever version of it is for you.
Yep.
So I want to end it with you guys telling me, what is your version?
Yeah. No, it's interesting you say that, because everything you just said there, I didn't come from like extreme poverty. I had very loving parents. I had an amazing childhood. My parents would do anything and everything for me. And, my parents did live paycheck to paycheck. And that was kind of the hardship that I saw. But I'll never forget, growing up an athlete, I was trained, it was ingrained in me to be the best, right?
Sure.
Be the best you can possibly be, and accept nothing less. It's championships and nothing else, right? And I'll never forget when I was graduating, I played college ball at Toledo, and when I graduated, I got a job, and I was working, with my civil engineering degree. I was making about $55,000 a year, and I was like, "Man, this is it. This is it." I clocking in, clocking out. Nothing. I wasn't striving for anything, I guess is what I was saying.
Right.
Like I had my career, but like I didn't really see a path to my development or anything like that. And as an athlete, again, being ingrained into you to be the absolute best version of yourself, it didn't resonate with me. So entrepreneurship kind of gave me that athletic piece back. And I know Tiff talks about this all the time. I wish at that point in time I knew what sales was. I knew about commissions, jobs, because it's no different there. Like you're an elite athlete when you're a professional salesperson. So
damn right.
But for me, it's becoming that leader that motivates and inspires other people through the results that I get, right? And then when I create other people who do the exact same thing, and then now all of a sudden they're looking up at someone like a Brandon saying, "Oh man, what does Brandon do? How does he think? Wait, I didn't hear that from my parents growing up. I didn't hear that from my coaches growing up. I didn't hear that from my teachers." It's that switch that changed the game for me. And I'll never forget, some of the first people I ever listened to, like Tony Robbins, completely changed my life just with his methodology and how he trained himself to think a certain way. And it's when you listen to these guys speak, it's mind blowing on how different the most successful people on planet Earth think and how they've programmed themselves. So very similar to what you had said, just I guess more tying in that component of being the best version of ourselves so that we can motivate and inspire other people's, and then creating other people to do the exact same thing.
Got it.
Have you ever listened to the book Outwitting the Devil?
Yeah.
So essentially it's saying, you've read it. So like anyone listening to this should read that, or I would listen to the audio because it's very entertaining and it's an amazing book. But essentially it's saying that like the devil's worst enemy is a free thinking man. So I feel like when I stepped out of that church and I told you I felt like I was standing in front of stage, I feel like God was saying, like, I chose you to go through the hardship. You can handle the struggle. I'm going to give you the struggle because I know you're going to come through it. So I've accepted now that, like, he's going to continue to put me in front of struggled paths. Like, each phase of the business gets harder. And I will say some of it gets easier, but some of it's like, I have a lot more to lose now.
Well, it's different levels, right?
Just different levels. And I'm not fucking stopping. And I'm not stopping until I create so many fucking devil's worst enemies until the day I die. And that comes with hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I have anxiety some days. I put a lot on my shoulders to help other people. But when I wake up and I leave one of my workshops, or I get off a stage in front of 1,200 people, and whatever message I crafted that day and the lives that I change, I remember that I'm like being obedient to what he said I'm going to put you through.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And then, I go back and forth around, like, I get judged sometimes because people are like, you're a mom and, you're traveling all over. And I said, okay. Don't get me wrong. I fucking know that I'm sacrificing a lot. So I made the decision this last year that I won't sacrifice my daughter at the cost of this business. I'm going to mend them together. And so,
but you're also setting an example too.
Yep. So now the majority of stages I go to, if someone asks me to speak on a big stage, they have to fly my daughter there. I'm not going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I bring her to work. I just try to bring in like what's most important to me in my life over here that frees my personal mind.
Sure. And
combine it with my work mind, because the day that her ass is on a stage is when I know I did my job.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I'm on a mission, man, I'm good at what I do. And if I can help other people free their mind of the one thing that keeps a business going, of creating revenue, it's going to be a powerful thing that we continue to go down the path. So
we ended with that.
Yep.
That was good. That was powerful.
Yeah. So that whole description and definition of a free thinking man is exactly how we describe the leader. Right.
Yep.
So the purpose of our organization is to create leaders who motivate and inspire others through their results. And the definition of that leader is a free thinking man.
Guys, I'm going to end it with that. We don't need to say anything else. And I just want to say thank you so much. You guys dropped some serious gems today.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us on, man.
It was awesome, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Wake Up to Wealth. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get updates as new episodes become available. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review on Apple Podcast and tell your friends about the show. It is how new people find us. Until next time,